Greetings guys, it's Irish again. In this video I thought I would do like a generic type of video for all levels of experiences. So it's going to be more of a window manager tips. So what I like to do, since if we go over to the Arch Wiki, as you can see there is a crap ton of them. This is just the stacking layouts. So if we go into the tiling, you see BSP WM, I3, Ion 3, Notion, Rat Poison, Stump WM. There's Awesome, there's Cat WM, DWM, Ecnisish, Spectrum. So there's a bunch of them. And I've reviewed, just 2% of this whole what's actually out there. There's, forks of everything. So it's going to be like a tips on how to configure and how to even choose a window manager yourself. Now, depending on what you're trying to get done, there's a bunch of window managers that have a workflow for programmers or workflow for developers or graphic designers. So if you're like a programmer and say you don't want to get down and dirty in the configuration file, then i3 or Awesome would probably be the best option for you, or even BSPWM. There's certain layouts. So say it doesn't matter how you want your layouts to be, and you just want the window manager to actually say where to place them. I3 would not be good because you have to manually place them yourself. So say like Awesome, Xmonad, even with like a BSPWM, it's very similar. It's got the best of both worlds, where you can manually tile it, but it does have a tree structure, a binary tree structure, so it does go down like in a spiral. Or say you wanted DWM, or it depends on what you're actually looking for. Most people's, and depending on what you want to do, how in depth you want to get into the configuration file. So i3 is very simplistic. Um, I actually can show that right now. Let me move this over. Yep. So if you go into my i3 configuration file, as you can see, this is very simplistic to read. A non-programmer, such as myself and others out there, can easily read this and kind of figure out what is going on. So like if you have a new window open, it's going to equal 1 pixel. Very simple. But say you wanted to get a little deeper into the code, and depending on what you're trying to do, um, depends on, then you would want to go into a window manager that I would think would have like a code base. So like Haskell is for Xmonad, Lua, Lisp, um, C, uh, Bash even. So if we go into my Xmonad, what I'm on right now, it's a little bit more complicated. So a new user to window managers or to Linux in general probably won't want to go to this because it's it's program centric, and if you don't know like the basics of any programming language, then you're probably not going to get and configure it that well. Another simple one would probably be Herbstluft. It's pretty easy to read, as you can see here. Your keybind, your mod key, Control and J will resize left, will resize down. So this again is pretty simple. And if you're trying to do the panel, this shows you where the panel is. But something like DWM, it's a little more hands-on, where you have to compile it. And you have to compile it each time that you change something in there. So depending on your workflow, and do you really want to dive deep into a configuration file to get just to get basic functionality, then probably DWM wouldn't be right for you. Another thing that I look at is layouts, because honestly, that's the main staple of any window manager, is how the tiling lays out your windows. So say if you have, a web browser open like Qt browser, and you open up, we'll just put Kdenlive, it will tell you how this will go. So I know because of this layout, it's going to go up on top here. But say you wanted it to the right, depends on your workflow and how you want each one. This is how I do it. It doesn't matter what window manager I'm looking at. I always do full. The second is my IRC and stuff like that. So I always have like WeChat up here, some network monitoring tools here, and then anything I need to do like update SSH into it, I just do everything down in here. So it depends on, again, workflow. The next thing I look at in a window manager is the top bar. So up here, is what is known as Xmobar, and this right here is not part of it, as you can probably tell. It's standalone tray, so I have to actually add this. It's a separate program to the Xmonad program. So I can get something called like Taffy Bar, and it will be a built-in thing, but then I lose customability. i3 has has a tray built in. There's Dyson too, so if you're looking for a tray like this, probably Xmonad isn't the right one for you. i3 is, or others. And with especially with the top bar, what exactly do you want it to display? With me, I'm very simplistic. I have, just my basic workstations, and then I don't need really anything except my battery, my volume, and the date and time. This is my CPU, and then this is my memory usage. I do use this a little bit more now that I'm on Gentoo, and with Gentoo, with some of my compiles, I actually run out of memory very fast. So knowing that this would probably be best. Now I know in like the default i3 config, it's very simplistic. It only reads your Wi-Fi, your volume, and nothing else. And when I was on i3, I wanted my brightness controls, and I wanted other stuff like my kernel, stuff like that, because I was on Arch at the time, and I would change my kernel because I was in the testing repos every time it came out. So it was nice to know what kernel I was on, and because I did use multiple kernels, so instead of having to go do an LSLA type of thing, then it's just nice to have it up here on the top bar. But with the basic i3, I couldn't do my brightness control. I settled on Conky, but then there's stuff out there that has i3 bar status. Let me show you a little bit here. Google will do awesome window manager. So if we go into images, we'll say just one. As you can see, you can have it just as basic as you want it. Or if we go back and then do xmonad, you can have pretty swanky looking, of course, pretty swanky looking screenshots. This is relatively basic, but there's a guy who added all of their stats on here, and then he had a drop down for his volume and other information. Same thing with Awesome. You can have a bunch of Wii boxes and stuff like that. It's just what I like about what I like about window managers is it doesn't get into your way, and you don't need to have all the flashiness that desktop environments. Like in Compiz, there's the cube, or in Kwin, there's the cube, there's the explosion of windows, there's all these effects that, yeah, it looks cool, but what's the function of it? It really doesn't do a whole lot in terms of your production, and because of those special effects, it takes up a lot of resources. Like the last time I was on GNOME, off of a cold boot, I had like 700 or 800 megabytes of memory just used up, straight up. Where on here, 700 could take me a long time to get to, depending on what I have open. So because I have my camera and my screen capture, if we go and open a new one, you could tell, it doesn't say on here. Yeah, I have 703 megabytes used, and that's with Qt browser, my camera, and a screen capture. Where if this was KDE, GNOME, it would be well over a gig, maybe close to 2 gigs. And with this being a smaller or an older laptop, that could mean a lot. Then I would have to not, keep stuff open if I'm not using them just because it's such a resource hog. Where with this, I could have Firefox open, Chrome. Yeah, it's going to get over to 2 gigs, but it could take an hour, it could take 2 hours, depending on what I do. If I'm, streaming a video, yeah, granted, it's going to, use up all that memory and stuff, but based off, like straight up, when I first started using i3, Xmonad, Awesome, all of those, cold boot, just opened up a terminal. It was like maybe 200, 100 megabytes, and that's it. So it's really nice. So I suggest probably moving. I would think it does take a long time to get used to the keybinds, but once you learn them and adapt to them in a way, your production will soar so much. I I challenged Das Gregor. He was a long time KDE fan. He always states in his videos, I've been a KDE guy since the 2.0, and he's tried GNOME and stuff like that, but he always went back to KDE. I challenged him to switch for 1 week to i3, and he's still on it. From what I gathered, he's, loving how easy it is, and, he got used to the keybinds. Once you learn the keybinds, you can do practically anything. And even if you have programs that need floating, then you can float them. So let me go back to my Xmonad. Go down here. So if I had my standalone or my Steam open, if I had it installed, it would float. And same thing with MPV. If I started a movie, then it would do a full float, and I could tell um, that. So let me open Firefox because it's actually supposed to float, and I could show it to you. It may look like it's full screen, but I can resize this and everything. So all I have to do is a mod, right click, and see now it's floating. As you can see, it floats just fine, and I don't really, doesn't look like it, so, which it's nice. Let me close that up. So it's just a couple of things to look out for, what you're needing. It's the same thing with distros. I'll probably make a whole, probably the next like LDC now is how to choose a distro, or I can, just do my own rambles on how to pick a distro, because there is so much choice out there that it could probably get overwhelming and you just don't know where to start. But yeah, if you guys have any other tips or suggestions on how to choose a window manager or how to get started with um, another one is probably theming the what terminal you want. I use URXVT, but there's Termite, there's Tmux, there's GNOME, there's Console, there's a bunch of them out there that you can use, and how well that does it. And then also the fonts, what fonts you want. A lot of it does come by default, but you know, depending on what fonts you have, can make a um, window manager look really nice, depending on fonts and the size. But again, beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. So you know, I feel like this is a pretty awesome, window manager, my setup, but there's some people who have blinged it out and made it even more beautiful and probably less functional. But yeah, it's really cool. But um, in the next video, I'm gonna probably in the next few days. This is gonna take me a few days to the chagrin of probably many Gentoo purists. I'm probably gonna be switching to System D on my Gentoo, and I will make a video on how to do that. I also got a request on how to save layouts in i3. Uh, I didn't, the first time it came out, I think it was in the 4.10, 4.11 release, and I tried it. I couldn't get it to work, but I'm going to give it a go. Uh, Read the documentations, make sure it works before I tell you guys how to do it, and then I'll make a video. And that pretty much closes up everything that you can really do in i3, because there's really not a lot of stuff you can do. I think in my one of my i3 videos, I showed you how to start a certain application on a certain workspace. So that's one thing you can do. How to theme it with the bar with what was it, i3 blocks, and then i3 gaps. So that's the one thing that I don't like about i3. It's very limited on what you can theme with it. So that's why I've moved to Xmonad, and I'm maybe considering doing Awesome, because my Awesome videos that I've done, I've actually gone back and watched them. They are very simplistic. So I would like to give you guys a better demonstration of the Awesome Window Manager and how to actually theme it, because again, all I showed you was how to get Font Awesome, Treesome, and some media keys, and that's about it. But I know there's a bunch of stuff that you can do with Awesome Window Manager, and I would like to show it to you guys. So if you guys have any other suggestions on videos you would like to see, please let me know, and I will get to them as soon as I have time, because I do have a toddler, and you know still studying for my Security Plus. I am not going to do it. I said it was going to be at the end of this month, but I didn't have the funds to schedule it and everything. So I'm still studying. Family comes first before anything else. So I'm just concentrating on my son and my wife, getting my house a little nicer, and just making sure that I spend a lot more time with them, especially with this nice weather because, it's just so nice. I'd rather not be inside. But I will start, doing the i3 video, and I'll start doing the Gen 2 video. And then again, if you guys have any suggestions or any other tips for new people, um, please put them down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next video.